Well, it's now time we go straight to the dailies and see what they have as a major one on their front page. And for review today, we have 6 papers. We have The Punch, as much as The Guardian, The Vanguard, The Nation, Daily Sun, and Daily Trust. But you do know, and you trust me, I always love to start with The Punch. And let's see what The Punch has as a major one on its front page. On The Punch this morning, the lead story reads, sensitive materials arrive Oshogbo as 30,000 core members mobilize. Riders to follow. Soldiers Guide Osun INEC office as 25,310 security personnel deployed for polls. Adeleke wife leads protests against alleged arrests and violence. And CSOs, others raise fears over INEC new results system. I'll tell you to get more of that on page 2. And also remember 8 of the Punch newspaper. Let's see if we take some other leading ones. 7 states, FCT borrow 355 billion in 3 months. This according to a report, and you can get that on page 19. And more still to come on the front page of the Punch this morning. Recapitalization, federal government orders NICOM to stop disputed fees is also making rounds on page 20. Visa processing shift won't affect Abuja embassy operations. And this according to the United States. And you can get that story up on page 7. 2027, opposition parties begin talks on single candidates. Can that come to reality? Well, I don't know, but read it up on page 9. Or your pastor arrested for allegedly defrauding 18 members. I learned it was about 2.5 million naira, but get that story up on page 5. Dangote, Nuprec differ over second quarter of crude supply is also making the rounds on page 20. The picture of the day and also a major part of that story on page 8 is Atiku Aregbesola Wo Osun voter says ADC will restore Awo's legacy. And that's making the rounds on the picture of the day. And you can, like I said earlier, you can get that story up and read it up on page 8. Well, that's what you can take from the Punch. Let's quickly go to the Guardian as they guide us through the papers again. Opposition kicks as state high permit tightens campaign rules. We're in the era of politics, and now you understand that. Well, anyway, let me just keep it there, but read that story up on page 6. 2027 Atiku Obi Makinde orders may forge alliance against Tinubu, and you can get more of that story up on page 3. What's also on page 3? 90 civil society groups urge National Assembly to withdraw foreign aid bill. NERC takes over Kaduna Disco over 456.5 billion naira debt is also making the rounds on page 3. And Osun report reveals 29 deaths and 73 incidents ahead of polls. Quite worrisome. But get that story up on page 8. A follow-up of what the elections will be. EU clarifies 2027 election rule as misreport. Reactions expose concern. And well, I'm also concerned, but I'll tell you to get more of that story up on page 6. And well, it looks as if that we can get, but okay. Imo Nasara varsity lecturers embark on indefinite strike over unpaid entitlements. It's also making a round on page 8. But what's on page 22? Recapitalization. Federal government wades into dispute, suspends NACOM's 680 million naira fee. And the picture of the day is that of, Captain Osa Kumbo lives on. And you can see the family of the late icon right there, and that's the much we can take, and that happened on Saturday. That's the much you can take from the Guardian. Let's see if we take some other leading stories still on the front page of yes. Let's quickly run to the let's quickly run to Daily Sun, and on Daily Sun this morning, the lead story reads: APC. Kume dismisses Atiku Obi Duke orders, say other presidential candidates no threat to Tinubu. I never lobbied to be APC campaign DG, says Wike, but I'll tell you to get that story up on page 6. Osun 2026, battle for Osun intensifies as Adeleke, Oyebamiji, and Salam orders trade claims. And not only that, you can get that story up on page 6. 2027, we will send election expert mission to Nigeria. It's also making the rounds on page 27. And Enugu adoption Governor Oba talks tough. Security forces free victims, arrest perpetrators. And you can get that story up on page 26 of the Dailies on newspaper. Let's see if we take some other leading stories still on the front page of the Daily Sun, if we have any. Okay? And well, anyway, we seem not to have any, but what seems to be a major screamer is the telecom giant MTN is celebrating 25 years of its existence on the most populous black nation on the planet. And we're talking about Nigeria. Well, anyway, that's the picture of the day. But anyway, let's quickly run now to the next paper for review, and that will be the Daily Trust. I trust to still with us, having that nice time to be with us. 2027, opposition revives coalition against Tinubu. And you can get that story up on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Trust. NARC sacks Kaduna Electric Board over 456 billion naira debt. It's also making the rounds on page 19. 17 bandits, 10 policemen killed in Zafara. It's quite a sad and disturbing one on page 7. How female student died on Lagos campus. This according to the law school on page 30. Yeah, we still have some others and quite really interesting news. Say, troop arrest kidnap syndicate. Commander recover rifles and cash. And we know this transpired in Enugu. Remember, there was a recent kidnap in Enugu State, and we do know that those persons involved, one have been neutralized and 3 others have been arrested. And the reign of terror is definitely being eliminated by the Nigerian military force right there in Enugu State. And you can see the cache of arms, the cash in their hands, and the proposed suspect, all of that making the round on the front page of the Daily Trust. Well, that's the much you can take from the Daily Trust. Let's quickly run to the Nation as we try to really wrap things up today on the papers. Battle for Osun hots up. It's a major screamer on page 2 of the Nation. And others to follow. Hamzat, Lagos need bigger budget to meet infrastructural demand, is making the rounds on page 33. Security rescue victims in Enugu kidnappers den raid. And we're just really happy about that. And get that story up on page 9. EU to send observer mission for 2027 election is one of a cheering one. Remember yesterday we had reports that they are not happy and might not really want to send, but we thank God they are having a reversal of that decision. And page 2 have more of that story. Wike, I did not need campaign DG job to deliver Tinubu in Rivers FCT. And I can tell you to get that story up on page 37 of the Nation. And the picture of the day, just like that we've just had, is 25 years of possibility, cheers to the next decades to follow. And MTN is really giving us that. Well, that's the much you can take from the Nation. Let's quickly run to the last paper for review, which will be the Vanguard, as we look at the dailies this morning. On the Vanguard this morning, why we plan coup against Tinubu, Colonel Maji, and says he acted out of patriotism, frustration with Nigeria. We cannot react now. Case still in court, says Defense Headquarters. And I'll tell you to get more of that details up on page 5. Yes, more to come. Recapitalization, Oyedele queries NAPCOM overpayment into escrow account. It's also making a round on page 20. Babangida Dusu, Oshoba headline Vanguard 40 years chronology launch. And this is a major one on page 8. Delta Federal Roads, gridlock, anguish as farmers' motorists groan on page 12. WAFCON shame, more readings, Tinubu should act fast on football. It's making the rounds on page 14. Let's see if we take some other leading stories here on the front page of the Vanguard this morning. 2027 Atiku Obi Duke Alliance exercise in futility. No surprise, this is coming from Tinubu men who will campaign with facts, says AGF. Atiku Obi Kwankwaso Makinde meets August 18, seek to unite against Tinubu. We are disposed to opposition uniting. Atiku Makinde NDC all is giving us a report on page 32. Okay, still, Atiku mark Osun voters as Agbesola predicts victory for ADC on page 21. Visa application from Nigerians to South Africa double despite xenophobic attacks. And this according to an envoy on page 8. Methodist Church to federal government. Nigerians not feeling impact of increased allocation. And no surprise. Remember, I'll be taking a critical look at this later on the big one. We're talking about dialogue, where we try to see, is it true that the economy has grown, but what impact is it having on ordinary Nigerians? Don't go nowhere. Stay with us in dialogue. But read that story up now on page 10. Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger alliance slams Tinubu over insecurity remarks. It's also making the rounds on page 9. And let's see if we go to the Mr. and Mrs. column. Well, anyway, still interesting. We've missed it a great deal. And well, anyway, let's see. Mr. starts the first shot. You transferred 15,000 instead of 20,000. And well, Mrs. said so. Then Mr. said, I must have forgotten. Mrs. said, what did you want me to buy? And Mr. said, cow leg, liver, and fresh fish. Then how come you remember those, but you forgot to transfer the complete 20,000? Well, anyway, if I missed her, you should know that she was setting you up. Well, sorry, guy. But anyway, the picture of the day is the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God Mission, Pastor E. Deboye, and we're talking about the 74th RCCG convention. And when we had about 1,000 babies being dedicated right there. Wow, anyway, mountain of movers. Well, welcome, babies. But anyway, that's the much you can take from the Vanguard and all the papers put together. You know, I will always implore you to go grab a copy of them, read them up, and get the full details of all that transpired on the front page of the dailies today. But anyway, that will be not now. Please stay around, still be with us. The dialogue will take center stage next, right here on Viewpoint on Atlantic TV.